Hey, good morning. This is John from Two Doves Bees and Gardens. Last Saturday, this is Saturday, the Saturday after, we were asked and were honored to be able to do a presentation up at the Rooted In Plant Nursery in Pilot Point, Texas. And I thought it'd be fun to share with you. The sound was a little off, so I had to take some time to work on the audio. But here's part one, and part two will follow shortly behind. We hope you enjoy it. There's some really interesting stuff in there and some good questions, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
We just covered everything, so we can go to the next presentation. It's funny. We started beekeeping a little bit ago, and I hope that what you find today is some inspiration. How many beekeepers do we have? Do you guys, anybody keep bees now? See a couple, yeah. That's interesting. I always learn something. Whenever I look at the bees, I learn something new every time. So I hope this gives us a basic guide and maybe some inspiration. And that's my niece, and she came to visit. We actually got into a hive, and she had her first experience with opening a beehive, which is interesting. As Daniel mentioned, we have basically an acre and a quarter, and we're held about a half-acre garden that we're trying to grow. It's 4 Berneva. I was out there in the summer, and it's like took me a couple hours to mow, and it was no fun, and it wasn't giving me anything. So it was just a big field of Bermuda grass and leaves. And so we started to create a garden, something that would give us food, something that would give us something for our island. That's how we started, right there. There's an area beehive. It's kind of hard to see. It's about 30 feet up in the air. I was up on my chicken yard one day, and it's like, I've got this group of hackberry trees. Hackberry trees, I guess they serve a purpose, but they like to fall down. And I was looking, I said, I'm going to have to deal with these. And I was looking at the trees, and I looked up and I said, what the heck is that? And that bee colony, area bee colony, was sitting there, must have been there for quite some time before I even had seen it. Never knew the bees were there. Never bothered anybody. Sadly, I had a brand new bee box in my workshop, and then built that, and it's like, I didn't know anything about bees at that point. It's like, well, maybe one did down here. Bees don't move unless you move them once they're established like that. And sadly, that colony just disappeared over winter. I did get some of the crumb, and we use that to kind of do some other things. Have you thought about beekeeping? Have you thought about what? Hobby, pollination. We're all aside here in a little bit talking about pollination and why it's good for you and your garden. We're going to talk about some cost benefits. Honey. I love honey. We're going to get to taste some today. And it's amazing when you taste them next to each other, one after the other. The differences that you'll taste from honey to honey is incredible. I've had some that you can taste the fruit that the bees were on, and it's just like, wow, where did bees get that? And it wasn't too far from here, actually. So they must have found a wild, either an orchard, somebody's yard, or they found some wild palm something. But it was very good. Tax exemption. You guys know you can get a property tax exemption using beekeeping. There's something to look into if you're interested to save a bit of money on your property. Can you keep bees where you're at? There's some things to consider. Most of us probably have a little more land, and it's less of a problem. But if you're in a typical subdivision, you could probably keep bees. There's very few regulations. One of the big things is if they become a nuisance. A lot of times bees and beekeeping fall under nuisance laws. You're fine to do it unless they start to bother people. How much space do you? You just talked about people that have a very small yard and have a couple of beehives in their backyard. Do you need shade or sun? How many of those people know that Texas full sun is different than other full sun? Our full sun will likely want to kill you. And it's a thing to consider when you're keeping bees. I always tell people that it's better to have bees where they can have a little bit of shade. They don't need to be in full shade, but if they're in full sun, you probably need to maybe keep an eye on that. Those hives can get very hot. What do you need to start? There's different kinds of hives there, hive stands, personal protection equipment. I know people that use nothing unless they need to. They will by open hive, bare hands. I mean, everybody's probably seen the girl on Facebook, right? She uses Texas Bee Works. She gets into her bees all the time, no equipment, no mask or gloves or anything like that. She still gets stung. So this is one of those things that what you have to figure out what your tolerance for pain is, because stings still hurt. They're not a cobra, but they still hurt. Jan talks about the costs and benefits, some things that might surprise you. Does anyone have a guess at how much it costs to start beekeeping in 2025, roughly speaking? Any guesses? 500, it's about $20,000. You're probably closer. The average cost is about $970, and that's to start 2 beehives. Why do you say start 2? Does anybody know? If something happens, you only had 1 and you have something happen, there's a good chance you could lose that hive and it'd just be gone. If you have a second one, you often can take resources from one that's having trouble or not having trouble to pick one to one that's having trouble, and you can kind of share some resources there. Always better to start with 2. One of the things that we'll say, obviously, $825 to $1,350, it really depends on you and your skills and your patience. There's lots of kits that you can get, starter kits, come with anything you need for usually a deep, a medium, sometimes there are a couple more deep 2 mediums. So they have kits that we get that will get you going. You can build your own. Obviously, that's time and material, and it would do it a little bit cheaper. Sometimes you can get free wood and cut them into a proper size. Build your own, a lot cheaper. Honeybees. I tell you that my first year, I started with a swarm capture. I started with a spit the same year. I bought packages of bees, and then I don't think I actually bought a full hive, but we have started bees with just about every way we can think of to start a bee colony. At this point, I probably caught 60 or 70 bee swarms, and probably 30 of those are from one tree. So if you find a place where you can catch a bee swarm, the bees will often come when there are swarms later in the year. You'll find that they hit that same place. Interestingly enough, the tree that I catch a lot of the bee swarms from are from the front of the house of the lady that's allergic to bees. They love her, and she has a little problem with them. So I usually put a swarm trap out there, and I've had multiple swarm traps in the same tree and gotten multiple swarms in the same tree at the same time. So very interesting. So there's different ways to do it. If you know a beekeeper, or you have a friend, somebody that does beekeeping already, you might be able to get a split from them at 0 cost. Maybe you just give them some of your new equipment, and they'll swap you out.
Explain why you have the new queen.
Yes. Thank you for catching that. So you seriously catch your own swarm, time number here, then you see new queen. We all know or have probably heard about Carol bees. It's not uncommon to find a swarm that may be nice and docile the first year, and they start to grow, and then all of a sudden they're in the second year, they're really building, really going really strong, and all of a sudden you find out, these nice bees I had last year turned into Frankenstein. So where I'm at, I can't catch a swarm and leave it and grow to like that. If I get a swarm, I have to change out the queen. I have to find that queen that's with that swarm, take her out and replace her with a new queen, one that I know the genetics of. And so you never know what you're getting when you get a swarm. You could be getting Cinderella, or you could be getting the Wicked Witch. PPE, you talked about that, kind of the rough costs. There's a little story about this. What is your tolerance of a sting? We were going to talk down at Fair Park a few years ago. I think it was Earth X or something like that. And we were just kind of at a table. And, all kinds of kids come through, school kids. And one of the little kids came up, a little girl, and her brother was there with her. I'm sure the mom was there. And the little girl was, getting all the information. We were talking about bees, and most of the bees that you see are, when you're out and about, are female. They're girls, they're bees, they're worker bees. The men just kind of hang out in the trees and wait for a crew to go by. That's how they propagate the next generation. So she found out that the boy bees don't have a stinger. You can pick them up. They're like a little, thing with just twig. You can pick them up. They walk all over in. They won't sting you. They all have a stinger. And then she looked at her brother and she says, you were stung by a girl. So, and of course he was embarrassed, but honey extraction. When you get into beekeeping, when you first start, one of the things that you want to keep an eye on is your honey extraction. I know a friend of mine, and he may be here today, I don't know. He has 4 beehives in his backyard in Plano. And last year he got, I think it was about 1,300 pounds of honey from 4 beehives. So be prepared if you're going to do honey, what you're going to do with that, how to harvest it, and have the equipment you need. Bee health, pest management, bee disease prevention, bee sugar, bee food. We always tell people, always use white sugar, never organic sugar. Organic sugar is not good for the bees. White sugar.
That's your question.
Sure.
I'm super new but excited, right? And so the internet sometimes, like, we all remember before the internet's a liar who's not going to talk out there. And I see these hives that have almost like they're engineers, like they have a valve to try to make that extraction of the honey easier. Is that a gimmick?
You're talking about the fur hive?
Yes, sir. I think so. I'm not sure what the name. Yeah, is that a key or is that?
No, it's actually it works. Okay. It's all plastic, and sometimes people have trouble getting the bees to build out the plastic. But it works. It's and it's a good solution for specific instances. Like if you had a beekeeper and were keeping bees on a roof of a downtown building, which that happens a lot. You don't necessarily want it to go and have to do all that stuff with the extraction and taking all the frames and bees and all that stuff. And so it's really easy to go in there, do a little mechanism and get the honey right there. So it's something. One of the issues that you're actually paying for an extractor, because it's essentially that is their flow hive is much more expensive. I think they're 500, 600 plus. So you're paying for an extractor built into the box. That does work, and it's definitely a good tool. It'll work.
But so in your opinion, though, like highly unnecessary.
If I were to suggest to you, if you needed a flower hive, I would say your money spent better elsewhere if you're going to have it on your property. Benefits. We're going to talk about some very interesting benefits. Cost savings, homegrown honey. Honey is not that expensive, but what are we getting in the store? It tastes like honey. Is it really honey? It's usually a combination of honey. There are companies that have gotten honey from lots of different places and all put it together, and then they bought it and put in the grocery store. There's some good honey in the store. I don't want to, whistle you there. But at least if you had it in your backyard, you've grown it, what's gone into it, what has been done to the bees, if there's been any pest management, any chemicals, etc., etc. You can sell the honey, excess honey, to help pay for your new colony, your new equipment, your new hobby. And I suggest, and I tell people that typically I sell my honey at $1 an ounce. And that's pretty typical. Some people sell for a little bit less. Some people sell for a little bit more. There are ways to get more money for your honey, and I won't go into that here. But typically, if I were to say a rough estimate, $1 an ounce is pretty common. Enhanced pollination and garden productivity. There's a little note there. If you have a beehive or are close to a beekeeper with beehives, your garden, your fruit, your trees are about 30% more effective. You get more for your bang for your garden, about 30% with a local beehive. If you have your own, maybe more. There's a note there about native bees. We're going to have a talk later about native bees. Native bees are better pollinators than honeybees, about 90% more effective. You get value-added products beyond the honey. There's propolis, there's wax. Any rib workers? Do you use wax? You need beeswax? There's a big use for that in woodworking for sure. I know I went to a blacksmithing class, and we were doing some blacksmithing, and I was surprised at the end when we finished the products that we were working on that it was coated with beeswax. He had a chunk of beeswax there, and when it was warm stare, just kind of coat that with the beeswax. So it's something interesting. And then a personal connection, personal enjoyment to nature. A lot of people love getting into bees. It's like we were talking about. Every time they get into the bees, you learn something new. There is always something going on. Some people find it reduces stress, and sometimes that's true for me, and sometimes not. It depends on how hot it is.
How much would you say weekly you spend?
I dubbed in the slide. We're going to talk about that in just a second here. Natural remedies, natural benefits, health products. You may talk about allergies. A lot of people think that honey is good for your allergies. Have you guys heard that before? I'm going to tell you, most of the honey that you get is spring honey, and most people's allergies are fall. Ragweed, things like that. So most of the time, that honey is not as effective as you might think it is. What this is very good too, though. Rare dry bee venom. We have our video on our channel. We are on YouTube, where I sat down with a young lady who does bee venom therapy. She does sting therapy because she has Lyme disease. Very interesting topic. That's another thing that comes right from the bees. And we just talked about the allergies. Local honey on cuts and scratches. I work at ER all the time. I'm always getting cuts and scratches. And one of the things you can do is put some local honey on it, on a Band-Aid. It really promotes healing. I was surprised. A couple of scratches, I got some really dark scratches, put it on there. The next day, it's like I hardly got scratched. It does really work. How many people have heard of Manuka honey?
Yes,
Why?
because it's pollinated by going to tea tree oil.
It's supposed to be really good, medicinal health benefits. Dr. Ozkirk, University of Texas, San Antonio, is doing a study on Texas honey, straight Texas honey, and we would be amazed at the results he's getting.